I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Families' livelihoods could be wiped away. What the church is doing to help those affected by the oil spill off the Gulf Coast. It's Head of the Class. A school in Brooklyn that goes way back celebrates an anniversary.
It's great to be recognized by a school that shares a common mission to our own, a school that kind of stands for similar values.
And a look at a surprisingly common moral dilemma.
Ways that we possibly unintentionally cooperate in evil and intentionally cooperate in evil.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Francesca Maxime has the night off. The president himself has called it a potentially unprecedented environmental disaster. The effects of the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico extend beyond the waters and could impact tens of thousands of lives along the Gulf Coast. The church has been quick to respond, and so have civil authorities. But will it all be enough? We get more from CNN's Carter Evans.
With more than 200,000 gallons of crude oil spilling into the Gulf of Mexico every day, the CEO of BP, the owner of the leaking underwater well, says not to worry. The company absolutely plans to pay all the costs associated with containing the spill. Monday at the Department of Interior in Washington, White House officials met with top BP executives to discuss coordinated response efforts. So far, those efforts have failed to stop the hemorrhaging.
We have a lot of complicating factors. The first one is this wellhead is 5,000 feet below the surface on the bottom of the ocean, and all the information we have and deal with comes from remotely operated vehicles and what we can see through them.
The spill directly threatens the Gulf Coast's multi-billion-dollar fishing industry. Officials are now working to construct a dome to place over the ruptured well to stop the oil from gushing and pump it to the surface. For now, those who live and work here can only wait. Some remain hopeful.
We haven't come to the conclusion that this is a have-to-be catastrophe, because it doesn't have to be.
Still others can't help but worry.
I honestly believe that this is going to be one of the biggest disasters that the Gulf Coast has ever faced.
So that dome that they're building is 40 feet high. It weighs 100 tons. The plan is to lower it 5,000 feet below the surface of the ocean, put it right on top of that oil wellhead, and then pump the oil back up to a tanker that's waiting on the surface. They've done it before, but much shallower water, never this deep. There are no guarantees that it will work, and we won't know until much later this week.
That is CNN's Carter Evans reporting from Gulfport, Mississippi. Well, to talk more about what's being done to help, I spoke earlier today with Father John Arnone from the Archdiocese of New Orleans. Father John is coordinating much of the church's response to the spill, and he's deeply involved in the pastoral and spiritual care of the fishermen and their families. Father John, thank you so much for joining us here today on Currents. We really appreciate your time, sir.
Oh, not a problem.
First of all, tell me what it is you're seeing from where you are. First of all, where are you and how close are you to the areas affected by this spill?
Okay. I am in the town of St. Bernard in St. Bernard Civil Parish, and we're pretty much ground zero on this tip of the state. They have already begun, putting out some of the orange boon to try and put out a first layer of protection, for better or worse. It's worked in some spots, but there's some major concerns with the seas and, the possibility of the oil just kind of lapping right over. So we're pretty much right in the middle of the operation here.
Yeah. So right there kind of at the front door of it all. Well, tell me, if you will, kind of put in perspective what effect this is having on people down there. I know that there's a big commercial fishing industry. A lot of people are probably hurting in the pocketbooks about right now.
They are. Even since when Hurricane Katrina hit, it really devastated the community. We are probably 35% back in population, which means we pretty much lost 65% of our population. And it was just a simple fisherman's community. They live from paycheck to paycheck. Fishermen don't have unemployment compensation. And so, there's a major concern of what's going to happen with them, literally, to put food on the table and in their life. This has been their life for generations, and this is what they know. And so there is a concern, what is going to happen next?
Yeah. Well, and what is the church doing to help? I mean, of course, as you say, people are wondering what's going to happen next. What exactly is the church doing to try and help people through this very difficult time?
Well, actually, tomorrow evening, on Wednesday, Catholic Charities, along with our parish, are going to have a little food giveaway. We're going to have Second Harvesters. Our food bank will be here distributing canned goods and emergency boxes of that. And we're also going to be giving $100 gift cards to the grocery store. And these are going to be specifically designated for fishermen from the St. Bernard area who are unemployed at this time, that have not been chosen to go out and assist in the recovery, in the cleanup or the prevention measures from BP at this time.
And you know, as you were saying a few minutes ago, an area that's been through so much. I mean, in the past 5 years, the need is really great there already. You know, and so to have this, I heard an analyst talking. I forget what TV network it was on last night, but saying, you know, the economic impact of this might be something that could even be worse than Katrina, because, you know, you have fishermen now who can't even go out, even, you know, after Katrina passed. Some fishermen were still able to go out and fish because the water wasn't contaminated. Now the water's contaminated, so a lot of fishermen can't go out and fish. So the need is great. How can people help if they need help? Say people here in New York, can they give maybe to Catholic Charities?
You know, Catholic Charities would be a great way. They're a great umbrella and resource for us to assist, because they're on the ground with us. We're going to be on the front lines trying to, you know, give some tangible assistance to the people to help put the bread and the water on the table, you know. And then, of course, there's spiritual help, just the prayers that can be offered. You know, we can't underestimate the power of prayer.
Right, right. And what are the people there who are affected? What are they saying to you?
You know, this week in Mass, after Mass on Sunday, we spoke in great length about what's happening to our community. And for us, you know, how can we live out the gospel this weekend? To love one another. And, you know, I said, you know, to love one another is to care for one another. And we're going to rally together. We're going to come together. You know, I had wives of fishermen in the pews actually crying because, you know, it was a very emotional and unsettling time, not knowing what the future is going to hold, and you know, how will they be provided for, and what will be the next step they're going to take as a family to continue living.
Yeah. Well, and as we've said, you know, an area that's been through so much, will continue to keep the area in our thoughts, in our prayers, and we'll direct people to Catholic Charities, maybe other areas where they can help as well, over on our website. Father John, thank you so much for joining us kind of from the front lines of the relief effort there in Louisiana. We really appreciate your time, sir.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And we do have much more about the spill and what you can do to help over on our blog. Just visit currentsny.net and click on Riding the Wave. Stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up ahead. The National Day of Prayer will go on if the president has anything to say about it. We'll have that story, plus the rest of the day's headlines when we come back. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, a local discussion about a deep topic. How long can you cooperate with evil? But first, let's check the day's headlines. Amid some controversy, President Obama issued a proclamation declaring this coming Thursday as the 59th annual National Day of Prayer. Last month, a federal judge ruled the day unconstitutional because it is a call for religious action, she says. Judge Barbara Crabb sided with the Freedom from Religion Foundation. That's an atheist and agnostic group that originally filed the suit back in 2008. The Obama administration plans to appeal the decision. In his proclamation, the president said the nation upholds the exercise of religion and the freedom of conscience as fundamental principles. Well, sponsors of a controversial sex abuse-related bill in the Connecticut state legislature have withdrawn the measure. The bill would have done away with the 30-year statute of limitations for filing sex abuse claims. Connecticut's Catholic bishops spoke out against the law, saying it unfairly targeted the Catholic Church. The bill's sponsors said they did not have the votes to get it passed. Former New York Senator Al D'Amato defended the Catholic Church's response to the sex abuse crisis in a letter to the editor of the New York Times Monday. D'Amato railed against recent media coverage, calling stories about decades-old abuse cases attacks which are unwarranted and unfair. He also said the church is engaged in an all-out effort to acknowledge, make amends for, and rectify its past failures. Now, meantime, a former religion editor for Newsweek magazine blasted the New York Times in a recent article for its coverage of the scandal. Kenneth Woodward says the Times has created its own version of events in an effort to implicate the Pope. Well, 4 people are dead in Mosul, Iraq, after bomb attacks that apparently targeted busloads of Christian students. The buses were carrying students between the ages of 18 and 26 to the University of Mosul when a car bomb was detonated. The Archbishop of Mosul says Christians are constantly the target of terrorist attacks in the region, and he said a delay in election results in Iraq is only making the situation worse. In addition to the 4 people killed, 171 were hurt, 17 of them seriously. And finally, one Catholic institution in Brooklyn has been around for quite a while. 126 years ago, St. Francis College was granted a charter to begin offering degrees and diplomas. Recently, the school celebrated its anniversary, and several notable people in the Brooklyn Diocese were honored. Our cameras were also there.
It's my home. I'm from Bulgaria, so when I got here, I had no one. St. Francis was always there for me, good or bad. Everyone knows everyone here, and everyone's good to each other, and they teach you how to be good and how to give back.
This event's important because it recognizes the history and the richness of St. Francis College in the community and what it really means to people and how it changes their lives.
Well, it's a wonderful honor. It's great to be recognized by a school that shares a common mission to our own, a school that kind of stands for similar values, and a school that when I walk into it, I see familiar faces. So that's a great thing.
This is one of my greatest honors, I would think. Yes, because it's from a school that I hold in great respect because of what they do with their students and how they do what they do.
As we gather at this convocation, we remember all those who dared to dream on a big scale. All those who enabled the dreams of students to come to fulfillment. It's in an urban college. It's right here in the middle of Brooklyn. It's very much imbued with the Franciscan spirit, founded and sponsored, administered by the Franciscan Brothers of Brooklyn, who then, several years ago, passed the administration on to lay leaders.
All of the students that come here end up really knowing that their mission is to serve others and to work with and for others, and that's really imbued in their whole spirit here.
The mission of the school is no matter what your background is, they're gonna try and help you any way that they can, and I really believe that they reach their mission.
St. Francis is a small college with big dreams. That's what it is for.
Stay tuned, there's more currents coming up ahead. Just ahead, who's the real loser? A satirical new novel addresses some everyday faith arguments. Welcome back. Well, what would the devil have to say if he were writing letters? Over the last 70 years, millions of people around the world have enjoyed the answer to that question in The Screwtape Letters. It's the C.S. Lewis novel that proves faith has a funny bone. Well, now someone is following in the footsteps of Lewis, and the result is a surprise bestseller. The book is called The Loser Letters, and like C.S. Lewis's classic, it is a work of satire and Christian apologetics, with letters addressed to some well-known atheists. But in the process, not surprisingly, God comes out on top. A wise, funny, and winning book is how Catholic writer Michael Novak described it. Recently, I had the chance to speak by phone with the author of The Loser Letters, Mary Eberstadt. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining us here on Currents today. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Well, The Loser Letters is the name of the book. I heard the title the other day. I said, this is probably something that I can relate to. It's got a lot of satire in it, and I understand it's your first work of fiction. Tell our viewers a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write it.
Well, I think it's no secret that religion is taking a beating these days, and especially Christianity. Not only the new atheists, but a lot of other secular folks are piling on. And that's really what gave me the idea to write The Loser Letters. I was impressed a long time ago when I read it by The Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis's masterpiece. It's the most wonderful combination of effective satire on the one hand and traditional Christian apologetics on the other. And what I'm trying to do with the Loser Letters is have something of that same combination, although my story is very different. But I want that same combination of satire and apologetics because I think there's nothing like humor to get people to think. And that's really what I'm trying to do with this book.
Yeah. Well, you said it very, in a modern day setting. Tell me a little bit about the setting of the book and a little of the plot and about the characters and the kind of things that they deal with.
Well, the letters are being written by my protagonist, a young woman named A.F. Christian. And A.F. Christian is in her mid-20s. She is a troubled but bubbly, worldly, bright girl. And she is writing adoring letters to the new atheists explaining what it is that drew her to atheism. So in the course of the story, you get her own personal tale of conversion, and you realize that she's been through some very recognizable things. She's a very up-to-the-minute kind of character. She is writing these letters from rehab, and the things that have happened to her are things that are recognizable to anyone who's been on an American campus or, has gone through their young adulthood in our increasingly secular world. So I mean her to be a kind of stand-in, almost an every girl, because all of us know someone like her.
Right. Well, you talk about atheism, of course, a lot, as you mentioned there, a lot in this book, and you actually call some atheists by their name, Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, others. Why was that important to actually call them by name? How much influence do you think these people have on the dialogue, religious dialogue in our culture today?
Well, I don't think they've managed to convert a lot of believers with their antics and their arguments. But I do think they are having an effect on younger people especially. On college campuses, some of these guys are regarded almost as rock stars. They have a certain celebrity status that they have deliberately cultivated. And part of the purpose of my satire is to call attention to that celebrity aspect of things and to poke some fun at it. That said, I do think the real danger here is that their ideas are not so much going to make belligerent atheists of people as they are likely to trickle down, into very fertile secular soil and give people who don't know very much about religion the idea that, hey, the new atheists came along and all of this God stuff somehow got settled and now we can move on.
Right.
I don't think we should move on. I think believers especially need to be playing offense and not defense on this movement.
Sure. Well, in the end, when all is said and done, what do you want a reader to get from this book as they turn the last page?
I want them to have an entertaining but serious experience of the role of religion in our lives, of what makes people believe or not believe, and I want them to understand a little better than most people do just how important Judeo-Christianity has been in Western civilization. So I'm hoping that putting that in a light package will encourage people to read it and to take away some serious things from what I hope is an entertaining and humorous book.
All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much. The book is The Loser Letters. We appreciate you joining us here on Currents today, and we'll link up folks to more information about the book and where they can buy it on our website at currentsny.net. Thank you so much, Mary, for being a part of the show today.
Thanks again for having me, Matt. It was fun.
Thanks. That is author Mary Eberstadt, and we do have more information about the Loser Letters over on our blog. Just go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave. Stay with us. We'll be right back. When we return, the good, the bad, and the in-between.
That started with, I'm against abortion, however, that's my personal opinion, and then they vote differently.
At this point, strong actions would be a very helpful teaching tool.
Well, just a few moments ago, you heard about a new book that takes a lighthearted look at good and evil. But recently, a forum in Queens had a decidedly different take on that topic. It was part of the Catholic Speakers Series at St. Robert Bellarmine Parish, and the subject was cooperating with evil.
the man, for instance, paying for his girlfriend's abortion. The abortion will take place inside the clinic, but the man pays for it. He supports it. He would be a person we would speak of as guilty of cooperation in sin.
The Joint Parish Respect Life Committee sponsors Father Haggerty from the New York Archdiocese. He's a professor of moral theology to discuss the topic of Catholic teaching on cooperation in evil, ways that we possibly unintentionally cooperate in evil and intentionally cooperate in evil.
For something not to be sinful really means that I'm not touching at all that evil, that something is taking place, that I'm very remotely distant from it, and I have nothing to do with it. What about the question of a Catholic pro-life politician voting for a law that would, this law would permit public funding for abortions? It's a useful example, and we're in Queens, so maybe we can use the example, but if you remember Governor Cuomo as governor here in New York, he had at times, at least one time and maybe more than one time, he had a bill before him passed by a Republican legislature that would have limited abortions. And as governor, he vetoed those bills. That would be a type of immediate material cooperation.
I think some of the bishops have to be a little more forceful, particularly with the Catholic politicians who for the last 30 or so years have been getting a free ride that started with the famous I'm against abortion, however, that's my personal opinion, and then they vote differently.
At this point, strong actions would be a very helpful teaching tool for the Catholic Church. Strong, what is an excommunication in history? It was to say that you are out of communion with the Church when you perform egregious acts of that nature. And we've been very concerned with politically correct actions in the political realm, what would happen as repercussions. I would not have a problem, I'm only a small priest here, but I would not have a problem with stronger actions in that realm.
The individuals who are here who participated, they would love to hear more from our priests, from our bishops, from our cardinals, from the church hierarchy. It's so important because we need that confidence, that reassurance, and we need their word.
Taking on a big and very heavy topic there. Well, that's it for tonight. Coming up tomorrow, a different kind of Sister Act, a Jubilee celebration for sisters in the Diocese of Brooklyn. In the meantime, remember, we're always online. CurrentsNY.net is our website. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can become our fan on Facebook as well. We have links to those pages, our Facebook fan page and our Twitter page on CurrentsNY.net. So you just go there. It's kind of your one-stop shop, all right? I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.